up, party patrons, and welcome to another Patreon episode. 2 minutes watching Bluey Bueyverse Choice.
I'm just gonna let you going, folks. This is great.
I decided to sing our intro. Know why I'm singing our intro tonight, Mike?
Because you're soothing me. It's fantastic. I've had a very difficult morning. It's sunny outside. I've had some water and some coffee. I've had my brekkie. I'm great. I don't know why you're singing to me. Why are you singing to me?
We've talked movies. We've talked sports. We've talked video games.
Yes.
One bit of popular entertainment we haven't talked about. Something that's important to both of us that we're big fans of, and that's a little something called music.
Musak.
So we are going to have... No, we aren't singing to you for the whole episode. Our sing-along episode will come later on in this adventure.
I swear, if somebody did a Patreon where they're like, we could only do it as a musical.
Us.
It's only a musical. You can't
I'm
talk.
Down.
You will not be down.
Have you met me?
Okay.
Have you met me?
Don't entice people, man. I can't do that.
This episode we're talking about are some of our favorite bands, some of our favorite music, some of our favorite performers. We'll talk live music, we'll talk records, we'll go through it. And I just figured we'll just kind of bounce back and forth, kind of like not necessarily top 10, but without any specific order, just kind of chat about some of our favorite music that we listen to.
We've got a very interesting path between the two of us because we some of us tend to lean one way, one goes the other, and then we combine in certain ways. Times that music meshes and it matches and it's great.
And our good pal Mike had a great idea before we started recording. Mike, share your beautiful idea with our fun, friendly patrons.
Yes, so what we're going to be doing, you're probably going to read it in the description anyway, but we're going to make a Spotify playlist of favorite songs from the artists that we discussed today. So that way, if you're like, oh man, that band sounds interesting in some fashion, we're just going to have a playlist of a song that's picked out by either Greg or myself, and that way you can hear the music that we're kind of discussing and talking about. I feel like it's going to be a fun way to be like, hey friends, this is what we're talking about, as opposed to being like, how do you spell the word this? Which is tricky. Spelling is tough.
Very difficult.
I would not pass the spelling bee, just so everybody knows.
So let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with some shared ground that we can both talk about.
Spice Girls.
I'm pretty sure these were going to be on your list, but let's go with Cake.
Cake is a great way to start it.
Cake is a great. That's our first concert that you and I ever went to together out in, was it Rochester or Buffalo?
Buffalo.
The first one that we saw.
Was the one that we went with together.
Yeah, because we made a pit stop in Rochester on the way.
Correct statement. There he is.
Cake is a band I remember growing up just loving their song, loving their sound, loving their music. And a very fun live show.
There's a lot of fun stories involving Cake concerts with Greg and I promise you that too.
There are. Including our tree Cake live shows. They give away a tree.
They do. Yes.
Every performance that they do. And one time, Mike raised his hand, made eye contact with the performers, and said his answer, which I can't remember what the question was.
How much of the world lives without running water, percentage-wise?
And you heard this because they did it on a previous show, didn't
they? Asked it at the previous show when I first picked up my lovely dog Maximus, and they asked that question. Somebody answered it, got it right, got on stage, won a tree, and that was about 3 years before we went together, and they asked the exact same question, and I went, bam, and raised my hand right away. And I remember John pointed at me, and he's like, you, the bearded man, you look trustworthy. And I answered it, and I won an apple tree at a Cake concert that we drove home all the way from.
About 2.5 hours.
This was in Albany, I think we were in. Drove all the way back, and I gave you the tree because we were living in an apartment at the time, and the tree is dead.
The tree did not make it.
How musically poetic.
It had giant apples on it. It was a tiny little tree, and it snapped right in half.
Cake is a fantastic band that combines alternative rock-ish with trumpets, with a vibroslap. A vibroslap is a very cool, fun instrument. They're a great all-person band. Do
you have a favorite Cake song?
Do I have a favorite Cake song? Yes, I do, and there's a lot of them. But honestly, I think the thing that really sold me on them was just their weird motif. Frank Sinatra is one of my favorite Cake songs. It really is. It's simple. It's got the trumpet motion. It's got a lot going on. Their last album, Show Me of Compassion, was actually really good. That nobody really gives much merit to. They recorded it all with a solar-powered studio, which was really great. Yes. And they have a lot of good songs on that one too that I like. That didn't really have a lot of the whole. They're that '90s band. What about you? What was your favorite Cake song? I'm sorry, I'm stealing a lot of talk.
Again, it's a hard question. It's a hard question because there's so many out there. One that I'm going to give it my favorite just because I want to hear them play it live someday in my life. Mastodon Farm. It's just a strange, different, weird kind of song. but just like a fun. Some people rip on Cake for being just kind of speak talky with their stuff, but I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Just his cadence, his tone, and there's a lot of that in Master and Farm, and it's just very much telling a story and just lovely.
He sings in a certain way that is almost ironic the whole way going through, like the song Comfort Eagle, where he's singing but he's not singing, like he is almost like standing at a political podium speaking what he's speaking, but also, you know, a song like Guitar where he's just singing about throwing his guitar out the window. What would it matter? It's just it's simple life things that happens with Cake. That's great.
Mexico's up there for me too. I really enjoy Mexico. Very ballady.
We don't
sad songs and waltzes.
Yeah, we don't talk about Mexico very much in my household.
Uh-oh.
Carrie used to listen to that song a lot after we broke up when we were 15.
Oh, wah, wah, wah.
I had a match, but she had a lot. It brings up some bad vibes. But Carrie and I put together.
Hey, Mike, what's another band that you're a fan of?
Sure. I mean, this is where it's kind of fun because we can. Greg, yes, you asked me that. Another band that I'm a fan of, gosh, that's a pickle behind it, is I've got a repertoire of way too much going on, so I don't know which direction I want to go in.
Go big. Go big or go home.
Let me go this way first. It's a band that I was going to go see tomorrow, still in September, here we are, and I'm choosing to not make the drive because I'm a lazy bones and will not drive 4.5 hours to Philadelphia. Look this band up. They're fantastic. I've seen them multiple times live.
Find them right on our Spotify.
And their name is Explosions in the Sky. Don't know if you've heard of them before. They're a 4-piece band based out of Austin, Texas. Instrumental band. No vocals at all. And they do these long soundscape songs that are probably like 8-9 minutes each. But it's 2 guitars, bass, and drums, and it's such like beautiful. Like you could have it as background music and not realize it is. But also, they did the soundtrack for Friday Night Lights, the movie, way back when. But I found them out way back when I was in high school. But it's they build up this wall of sound music and do it so well live. It's so well written, and it's great music. So I'll pop that onto the Spotify playlist.
I'm gonna actually.
Go for it.
I'm going to actually throw you on the spot here. I was
Yes.
just talking about orchestral music.
Sure.
I want to tell our good friends what you and our pal Ken Keenan
Sure.
did about 2-3 weeks ago that I
Yes.
think our Patreon will be, especially our pal Amanda,
That's right.
will be intrigued by.
I was able to go see the Final Fantasy performance of Distant Worlds in Cleveland, which was buck wild because somebody was like, I'm willing to drive 5 hours. And I was like, okay. And Carrie gave it to me for a birthday gift, and then we drove back that night, and it was the world's best collection of comfortable nerds seeing an orchestral performance of music from Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VI. They did a whole montage of battle themes, which was so cool. The entire time it was, even though you want to focus on the orchestra, they have just the scenes of what's going on in, you know, either the Final Fantasy VII remake or what was happening specifically in the game, where it was the train fight during Final Fantasy VI, and they did the Cosmo Canyon theme, and it was so elevating, and it was done as like a well done classical performance where people didn't have their phones out. It was truly like nobody's talking during their performance, so it was very well done. Got chills a handful of times. Of course, and they did do, I think, they did 2 callbacks to the conductor, but 1 encore, and they did finish it with One Winged Angel, which was so bone chilling. So it was very cool, very cool. Would recommend absolutely doing it. Well worth 5 hours in a car with a bunch of nerds. Which, funny sidebar situation. We were driving back. I don't know if I told you about this, and we were talking. They did a rendition of a song from the remake. It's called Jesse's Song, about Jesse.
You did tell me about this.
And as we're driving back, a buddy of mine in the front seat was like, man, it was really weird how they focused so much on that person that was a dude in the first game, but was a chick in the second game. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, well, it was just so weird. Like, Jesse's a boy, and he just did a song about it, and then now she's... Like, no, Jessie's been female the whole time, dog. She's been. It was just.
How did he miss that?
But you know, everyone choose your own choices in life. Of course, life's beautiful, but the whole time, like, yo, dog, like, Barrett's got a mustache and a goatee. You know what's going on, right? It was just this weird moment that kicked in, but it was so well done. It was fantastic. What was your first concert, Greg?
My first concert.
Yeah, I came prepared with something.
We've got some questions.
Don't worry.
This is going to be flashback to music.
Now,
Greg doesn't music very much to anymore.
It's okay. You can double
this. Because
you could do concert you were brought to versus your concert of choice first time. Because
there's
a difference, maybe.
There's very big difference.
Okay.
The first concert I was brought to, granted, I wanted to go to this. I was like 11 years old.
Sure.
That was back in my country music days.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
First concert ever was Vince Gill.
Yes.
The Vince Gill concert in upstate New York, I believe in Ogdensburg, New York.
Stellar.
Great. I was a member of the Vince Gill fan club back in my Little days.
Were
I have
you
an
really?
autographed picture of Vince Gill somewhere kicking around either my parents' house.
Does it still exist?
Somewhere,
Does
somehow.
it say to Greg?
It definitely does not, because it was just probably generically sent out to everybody in his fan club. But that's the first one that I remember.
Wonderful.
I remember actually going to being at. The first one I remember being like, I really want to go to that concert. I really want to go to that show. I think we're going back to Cake. It was a Cake show in Potsdam, New York.
Yeah.
It was Cake and another band that I really like, Gomez, who has a lot of really good songs. I listened to one of their albums. Throw Gomez on that playlist.
There you go. I gotta start making a list here, don't I?
You do.
What am I doing? Vince Gill going on the list.
I'm trying to think what Gomez song. I think there's one. Tijuana Lady, great song, but Gomez, fun band, and the fact that Cake was it was crazy too because there was nobody there. There was like 50 people cause I don't think Potsdam, New York is a big Cake and Gomez alt rock area back in the mid 2000s, but boy howdy, it was an awesome show.
I don't think, and I can say this for a fact, I don't know if both of them were there, but listeners to the podcast, Brian Kelly at least, and Mallory were going to school in Potsdam at the time, and they went to that concert also in Potsdam. Carrie had not yet seen Cake, even though she wanted to for the longest time, because we were going to Myrtle Beach that week and didn't get a chance to go see Cake also. And that would have been her first Cake show, and she was slightly sad about it, sitting on the gorgeous beach of Myrtle Beach at the time. It was nice.
We could have met each other a decade earlier.
See, that's what I mean, is we're not crossing paths, but that's okay, because we got Vince Gill on the playlist, folks.
Well, throw that back to you then.
Yes.
Also, at Vince Gill, I've got to pick One More Last Chance. That'd be the Vince Gill song I would throw on there.
Okay,
Give
done.
me just one more last chance.
This
What was your first concert, Mike?
My first concert, ready for this? I went to the New York State Fair.
The great New York State Fair.
Yes, indeed. And this was back when they had the original grandstand. And my parents took me, little 7-year-old me. So imagine taking Emily a year or two ago to go see Bad Company and Ted freaking Nugent. Oh my gosh. I was there for Bad Company. I remember, I like visibly in my memory, I remember seeing Bad Company. And then I remember seeing Ted Nugent on stage for about 10 seconds. And I looked at my parents and I said, no, this is not happening. Like, it was too much for me as somebody that's been to a lot of concerts. And we had to leave. And I think we were like sitting outside of the grandstand or something like that. And we hung out for a little bit. But they conceded and realized we don't have a sitter tonight and we should do the right thing and take them home. So shout out to my parents for doing the right thing. I'm not putting a Ted Nugent song on our playlist. I apologize.
What?
To that no, I don't apologize. I'm not putting a Ted Nugent song on our playlist.
So then what's your first one that you wanted to be at?
I was 14. I went to see the Deftones live in Rochester, New York, and it was fantastic because I saw them again. Deftones are in my top 10, if you want to create a list kind of thing. Top 10 bands that got me into the style of music that I started to enjoy and pursue the harder rock and the almost heavier metal, sure, what have you. But it was still that young youth, Sacramento, California, new metal's coming in, but they actually stood the test of time. I love the Deftones personally, but it was a fun show. Deftones and Glassjaw, 14-year-old Mike had a blast. What was your first Greg concert that you said? Was it the Cake concert you said that you went to? That was your choice?
I'm trying to think now if that one was before. I think that one was definitely before. But just talking about like big concerts. One of my bigger concerts I ever was. Did you ever do a K-Rockathon?
Yes.
A Syracuse K-Rockathon? I was at K-Rockathon 10, I think it was. Again, Cake was on the bill, and that was one of the things that drew me there.
We were there together then.
You were where the dude jumped off the stage and almost died.
Boy Hits Car jumped off the top, and Cake was there and didn't want to be there, and you could tell. And
it was not a Cake crowd at all. They were at the wrong venue for that, but it was very hard rock, very cool show. I'm trying to think who else was there.
At that one,
Zakk Wylde was the headliner. I remember.
We did not stay long for that one.
We didn't stay for Zakk Wylde. I'm trying to remember. It was one of those big 2010s bands.
Sure.
That was very hard. I'm killing me to remember, but it was a very fun K-Rockathon, very fun show.
At the Weesport Speedway.
I badly want to, and I was telling Beth this, my brother, this past, he's 29, I think, this year.
Sure.
Has gone to Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo, the Rush Festival, Riot Festival.
Sure.
And there's a fourth one the one down in Austin. The big one down there. I can't remember the name of it now, but he's been to like 4 huge music festivals in a year. It's like, I just want to go to one festival where like I like the headliner, may not even like the headliner, and just hear a bunch. There's a really cool music festival. It's the Ottawa Blues Fest.
Sure.
In Ottawa, Canada, which is not that far from us, 2.5-ish
No.
hours. They have, I don't think on any of our lists, but I'm going to throw them out there. They were headliner this year was Korn.
Sure.
At the Blues Fest.
Hey.
There's no blues at the Blues. There's a lot of not blues at the Blues Fest, but it's like, man, I would love to do that. Something happened where we were double booked that weekend. We couldn't make it up there, but Korn, Freak on a Leash was like one of my jams as a youngin', TRLing around.
Never got to see Korn live, and that's one of my young child regrets, I guess you could say, because Korn was the band that got me into the heavier music scene. That's because of, TRL and that kind of stuff. I dug deep for a long time.
Is that a Mike McGirt concert?
What's that?
That was going to be a question. Somebody that you haven't seen that you want to.
It would have been then, yes. And it was a bummer of mine when an uncle of mine said that he was like, I'll bring, we're 3-hour drive is what he said. He's like, I'll bring Mike to Buffalo, no problem. I was probably like 13 at the time. He's like, I'll bring Mike to Buffalo, see Korn. It was the one of the Family Values tours, and he was like, "Oh, I'll bring Mike. It's all good." And my parents were like,
everybody was on those Family Value tours. There was so much.
Like, nope.
But then MTV probably messed that up for you by showing all the stuff that happens on those tours.
Yeah, but he would have looked out for me. It would have been a blast. But moving forward, it's like, oh, Korn's playing 20 years later. Is it worth seeing him now versus what I could have seen him for? It's tricky, man. It's tricky. Sometimes when you see a band in their prime situation and you see it and witness it and enjoy it, you can feel like I did that and it was good. Now, if they want to keep playing moving forward, sometimes it's worth it. If they're still passionate about it, if they're going for the money side of things, I don't know.
Like we saw a couple years ago, Beth and I went and saw Kiss.
Sure.
And that's plenty past their prime, but that was a blast and a half. It was at the Syracuse Amphitheater, ton of songs that we knew. Beth enjoys them just because of the song. Beth,
yes,
she has the single on album. I don't think she actually has the actual album. She just has like the album cover that she got from somewhere of just Kiss, Beth, big
Love
across it. So that was a blast. I would definitely, if the Rolling Stones came, I'd see them. I saw with my mom. Oh. Shout out Mama Dawn. I saw Stevie Nicks and Rod Stewart in Madison Square Garden like a decade-ish ago. So I definitely am fine with going to see some older folks.
Yep.
One question that you just popped in my head, because it was a debate with me and the missus. We both have littlies. You were talking about bad Ted Nugent experience. You were talking about 13-year-old Mike wanting to go to the Family Values tour.
Sure.
Next year in, I think, March, Emily's favorite by a mile musician, Olivia Rodrigo.
Yep. And
I say Emily. We all enjoy us some Olivia Rodrigo in our household.
Go for it, dog.
She is playing in Philly.
Okay.
She's playing in Boston. She's playing in New York. She's playing all over the Northeast. I badly want to take her to a show. She will be 9.5 by then.
Do it. Do effing it. You will be.
I feel like it'll, because I took her to the first and only all women's wrestling WWE pay-per-view when she was 3.
The difference between bringing her to a wrestling show and bringing her to a concert is you don't know what's going to happen at the wrestling show. There's matches that are booked. You know songs are going to get sung at a concert. She'll have a blast and a half. We almost considered, because I'm not making the trip this weekend to go to Philly, still slightly, but that's okay. I'm regretting. Is Dropkick Murphys are coming the next day. They're here Saturday in Syracuse. Oh. And I thought about possibly bringing Finn to go see Dropkick because it's that fun style of music that's upbeat enough.
Where are they playing?
Right here at the War Memorial.
Ooh.
Right here. Yeah, but they usually play a free show at the fair.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a little bit of a pickle on that side of things. So it's tricky. But I feel like you would have a blast and a half. What was your first CD? I mean, I know that we're trying to make playlists and stuff like that, but it's also worth... I mean, we can go through the list of bands that we love and all that good stuff. And we can. It's okay. I've got plenty, but...
I'm trying to rack my brain. Mm-hmm. So the first CD I remember, I think, would be Jagged Little Pill of Alanis Morissette.
That's right. You are a big Alanis fan.
That would be my guess.
You've
Again,
seen her
saw her live
too.
Yeah, I was supposed to see her before the Pandemic, and she rescheduled for afterwards. Thankfully, it was a nice outdoor venue. It was still fairly halfway in the pandemic, but again, fully outdoor concert, very distancy, so that was nice. But I think that was one of my favorite OG ones. One of my favorite buying a CD stories, though, is, again, TRL was listening to Eminem when he was first coming up with a Slim Shady. I went to the mall and wanted to get the Slim Shady CD, and my mom said, no.
Logo on it.
No, you're not doing that. I've heard about this guy. Wouldn't let me. The next week, I went with my stepdad, and I was like, can I get this CD? Sure.
Sneaky Greg.
Got home, kind of hid it away. I'm so sneaky. Mom walks in and is like, Dad says you got a CD. What'd you get?
You
Didn't take it back. Surprisingly, didn't take it back.
Well, you opened it. You can't take it back.
Got busted. She read the back albums, which names of songs that I can't repeat on this podcast. Like, great. This is great. Enjoy. I think my stepdad got more in trouble than me for that one, but
some of them songs are pretty dark.
They are.
Isn't there a song literally called Kim?
Nope. They are some angry things for a little 12-year-old Greg Painter to be experiencing.
Oh, man.
Remember, Eminem was... I've got a couple years on you, young fella, so I was a little bit older and more mature and wise.
Sure.
As a preteen than
At
you
the time
were.
that you were purchasing that album, I probably was still listening and rocking out to one of, if not both of my Spice Girls CDs that I had as a young man, because those were some of my first CDs.
Let's talk Spice. Let's get Mr. Spice Girl podcast.
I do a Spice Girls podcast. We go song by song and discuss everything. It's called The Spice Level. It's fantastic. But the Spice Girls were a very weird, pivotal part that must have confused the holy heck out of my parents, because I jumped all on board with Spice Girls before pivoting right away to Korn and Limp Bizkit and all that kind of stuff. So they just be like, we don't know what to do with this kid. Go get him, Tiger. And that's how it works. It was just a lapse in my life. And we'll still keep the windows down, rocking out to it.
And that's the thing, too. Don't just enjoy one band. Don't just enjoy one genre. Everything's got something good. Again, we've talked about a little bit all over the spectrum here. I mean, another person, a couple more that I got on my list
Go ahead.
Big fans of. First off, I'm just going to go a little comedy here.
Ooh.
A little comedy is like Flight of the Conchords.
Sure.
Huge Flight of the Conchords.
I knew you were, yes.
Tenacious D, obviously, but I wanted to go a little bit more offbeat that maybe not everybody's aware. Flight of the Conchords, they have so many fun songs, just goofy. Leggy Blonde, I enjoy very much.
I'm not very familiar with them, so that's where...
so many just good, goofy, and they're a couple dudes from New Zealand. They've had a TV show on HBO is where I first
that's where I first heard
found
of
them, which also has Kristen Shaw.
Really?
As a big part of their TV show. It's like their one and only fan.
That's
on
cool.
The show. Just like super cool, super fun band.
Friend of a guest on the podcast. Good friends with Kurt Braunohler.
There you go.
Very good friends. So
there you go. And then check out another one quick. Just
yes.
It kind of a mix. It started off a mix of rap comedy and then changed it. Childish Gambino. I very much enjoy a lot of his early stuff and his more recent too, but very good rap, very good music.
I never got into him. I never pursued him enough.
This is going to be an explicit playlist that we have on there, but Bonfire by Childish Gambino. Wow, beautiful song.
Look at him. Song. Bonfire. See, and some of these things I'm going to listen to also. That's the things we're all learning together.
I'm not sure if Spice Girls will count as this.
It's on there.
Outside of it, like you have that guilty pleasure, like songs or bands or like that doesn't really fall into the Mike category. That just for some reason,
well,
I kind of love this.
That's what's fun about a lot of these things is his having. I don't think their guilty pleasure is warranted, because if you like the music, you like the music. What would make? I mean, I feel like Spice Girls kind of falls into that situation for me, unfortunately, because I do have the motif of the bearded guy. I mean, I could sit here and talk about metal music and hard rock all day. I mean, I'm going the complete opposite on it because you said guilty pleasure. But one artist that needs to be talked about is the one that made me really, really, really pursue music, and it's also just in general. Devin Townsend is his name.
I was waiting for you to talk about Devin.
Well, it's the thing about Devin is you could literally say he has a discography, and it's very. It's like walking into a library and seeing how many books there are and being like, I can't read all these books, and that's what he does is music. And I've been following him since I was a youngin, since I was like 15. So to see him evolve over 20 years. Is great because I would experience something new every time. But if you're like, I want a happy album, I want a punk rock album, and he did a fake punk rock album where he's making fun of band, making fun of band. This was like early, like 95, where he's like, this is the way to make money in the music business, and he wrote 12 pop punk songs, and they're really catchy, and he sings about wallet chains, and then he does full on heavy metal, but then he does full acoustic albums, full ambient albums if you want just background music, and it's just the most creative mind that I've ever seen because he decides on something, he creates it, and then he moves on. And it's a very difficult thing to do in life, personally, is being like, all right, cool, I'm going to write like this, and then 2022, I'm gonna do an album like this. Okay. And it's always different, but it's always so well produced, and he's a mastermind. So I'll pick one song because that makes sense. Guilty pleasure of music. Gosh, that's tricky. You know what? It still exists, and I will say it. You know what? It's going to bring it a little circle. A guilty pleasure of mine is MC Chris. I still listen to MC Chris. We've seen him live multiple times. And
he's on my list, don't you worry.
For a long time, it was just a nerdcore rapper that just kind of got a little self-serving, I guess you could say, and was a bummer to experience. But a lot of the music that he created when it was in its prime, a full rap song about Reese's Pieces you can't argue about. Nerdy stuff that I don't understand.
He's got a half dozen songs about Star Wars.
Right.
He has a song about Twin Peaks, which might be my favorite that he does.
Ooh.
This pie so good it is a crime.
Oh man, we have to pick one MC Chris song to put on to the
Tasty
playlist.
Face. Also, a lot. MC Chris did an interesting thing for. I'm not sure if he still does it, but for years he would release a song on April Fool's Day,
yes.
And it would be unlike his other songs. It would be kind of outside the box for what he usually did, and they were always very fun. Again, Tasty Face, which is just a cover of, oh gosh, what's that? I Just Met You. So Call Me
crazy.
Maybe. Call Me Maybe.
Yes. That
just goes, I just did bath salts, your face looks tasty. And it's hilarious. It's like very Weird Al-esque for what he doesn't really go on that route, but very Weird Al-esque music, which also, Weird Al, flipping legend.
Yes.
Love me some Weird Al.
That is a yes and. Fun story about an MC Chris concert when we first saw him before that song live. We were in Northampton, Massachusetts, visiting my family, and it was the hottest venue I think I've been in ever. And Carrie went with me, and the venue probably held about 1,000 people tops. And she's like, I really don't want to be up front too much just because it's very warm in here, yada, yada. I'm like, no, it's cool. We'll hang out and stand by the bar, or we can go close. And Power Glove was opening. Power Glove is a metal band that does video game covers. They're fun. They're fantastic. And during the Final Fantasy VII boss battle theme music, some beefy, sweaty boys were doing their mosh pit thing. And Carrie got pushed a little bit, and she slipped back, and she hit the back of her head on a pole.
Oh, no.
And we spent the second half of the song sitting at the bar with an ice pack to make sure she was okay and comfortable. And we recovered through the end of the Power Glove thing, and then she still was like, yeah, we'll go up to CMC, and hung out and stood tall. And he opened with Tasty Face, and he messed it up and had to redo the whole song midway through. And it's just this whole experience of like, oh, that was a tough concert experience. Probably one of the hardest ones to
which makes a lot of sense because we end up going later on that same tour with you guys to see MC and Power Glove and Contra and Richie Branson. And Carrie and Beth hung out in the back the entire time.
Yep.
And now I understand more why.
Yeah, she wasn't having any of that. No. Gosh. But, yeah.
I'm not. I've got one more.
Go ahead.
But when I say one more,
We'll blitzkrieg these lists
I've
if you
got
want to.
like a dozen right now that's going to be included.
List them off, and then
in
we
this
can
one
put them
more.
in the playlist. So that way people will be like, oh, and say why you want to put them in the playlist. Go ahead.
Yes, so
you got the stage.
I'm not going for a genre or a band or whatever. I'm going for an experience. I'm going for a contest. I'm going for the Eurovision Song Contest. In
like a
2020, when Will Ferrell put out the Eurovision Song Contest movie on Netflix, we enjoyed the movie, thought it was great. It's like, let's get into that. Let's see what this whole thing's about. Next one that comes up, let's make sure we watch it. And holy cow, it's, again, just don't like just one type of music, one form of music. They've got pop songs. They've got ballads. They've got hard rock bands. They've got metal. They've got some weird German crap that I've never heard of or understand. They've got Ukrainian bands that are just like techno, devil rock, whatever. Don't even understand what genre it is, but it's interesting and I enjoy.
That's great.
It's very much a bucket list thing. That I really want to go and see a Eurovision live.
Ooh.
This year's in Sweden. Let's say I want to go in a country that I know enough of their language to be able to make it work. Last year's was in London, so that'll work.
Sweden will work.
Sweden will work, yeah. They speak English mainly.
Swedish is very difficult to understand.
It is, but for Eurovision, they speak English on it. There was one from the Netherlands. The first year we saw was Netherlands, and it was very much not in English.
Oh.
They have like different broadcasts where, oddly enough, Johnny Weir, the figure skater, hosts like a watch along on Peacock where he just he's a big fan of it, so he talks about it.
That's awesome.
So it's very fun. But just I'm going to throw out a few names here that are literally. I've got dozens of songs on my playlist from them just from hearing their one Eurovision song. Cornelia Jacobs, amazing. Hold Me Closer, beautiful voice. Måneskin, their song, they actually won it the year that they did it. Italian hard rock band.
Sure.
I think you would love them if you actually got into them. Beggin'. They did a remake of the song Beggin'. I'm a Slave To. Very, very good.
That's awesome.
Montaigne. From Australia, a pal friend of the podcast, Justin McElroy's good friend. She's got some awesome songs. Geez, I'm trying to think what would be good one for the playlist.
Yeah, you dig deep. It's going to pop up on there.
I'm trying to dig on my.
It's all good. It'll be there.
It'll be there.
You'll put it there.
Michael. I'll add it there, and we'll tag team it. But she's got like probably one of my favorite artists right now, honestly, Montaigne. Barbara Pravi, everything she sings is in French. I don't speak a lick of French, but she's awesome. Her Eurovision song was amazing. Voila. We've got Amanda Tenford. We've got Dio Fryer from Iceland, who sings, again, too many songs. We'll put it on the list. And then Infandi. We'll go into the car, and we have this playlist on, and the kids are in the back, and they'll, like, start singing, like, Swedish because they know the chorus of the random song.
That's awesome.
And Fandi, who is, I believe, from Azerbaijan. Half of her song is in, I have no idea language, but the kids like both sing the chorus together, and it's fantastic. Check yourself out at Eurovision. It's just I'm not a big fan of music contests. I don't really care for Voice or America's Got Talent. Just the way they do it.
It's different.
That's
fun.
The way they vote, like each country votes and gives like 12-1 points to every other country in the contest, and then there's a fan vote, and it's all political and weird and
that's legit.
Goofy and very electoral college versus popular vote type of stuff and controversy and betting odds, and it's the best.
What does the winner get?
The winner gets, I'm pretty sure, a good chunk of change, and they headline a tour, and they are their country gets to host the next Eurovision.
Oh,
so
is that why it's in Sweden?
That's why it's in Sweden.
Oh, Sweden would be great, man.
That'd be
fun. I would go to Sweden.
But do you have any? I know I just did like 20 bands in a row, but I see a lovely signed poster of the band.
That's a funny story.
So let's talk the Ocean Collective.
The Ocean Collective is fantastic. If you want to check them out, they are a progressive metal band from Germany. I've been following them for a long time. I saw them open for Devin Townsend back in like 2016 or something like that. They have an album called Pelagial, and it's basically, it's going to sound redundant, but it's a 9-song concept album to where each song gets lower and lower in the depths of the actual ocean. They base it on, scientific information, and each one progresses more and more with the same storyline, but it gets deeper and deeper to where it almost does at the end of it feel hopeless, unfortunately. But it's a very well done album. They've come out with multiple that have that same concept to it. But they made a post on Facebook, and I've seen them live a couple of times, and they're great dudes, friendliest guys ever. The reason why I know that is because they made a post on Facebook at one point in time saying, hey, we're touring the U.S., which they haven't in a long, long time. They had passport issues, what have you. They finally got to be on a tour, and they said, we're going to be stopping in each city. We'll do, meet and greets with fans and all that kind of stuff. If you want to meet up with us, what have you. If you want to bring food, we've had this before. We've done that before. Feel free to reach out. And I got into this weird stint where I was making dough. And I said, hey, dudes, I'll make you some pizzas if you want to. And I can swing out because they were playing The Lost Horizon, which is 7 minutes from here. And I said, I'll make you some za if you want to. And they're like, yeah, that'd be cool if you could bring like 7 or 8 pizzas. And I was like, you know what? F it. I will. Dough was easy to make. Sauce was cheap. I made pizzas. And I was thinking about it beforehand, though. And I'm like, how the hell do you bring... how do you bring pizzas to a... And I had to go to a Stewart shop, shout out Stewart shop again from earlier that we were talking about today, and ask him, hey, could I have some pizza boxes? Because where do you get pizza boxes? And I brought them the pizza boxes, and they were just full on. I shared my pizza with them, sat on their tour bus, had some German espresso with them, hung out and talked about music for about 45 minutes. Like, we're going to do sound check now. Do you want to hang out? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go home and hang out with my wife for a minute. And they're like, cool, see you at the show. Nice. Nicest guys ever. Great music. And it's an eclectic taste. You have to get into it, of course. But it was so fun. And the most humble musicians are the most humble people. If you just say, I appreciate what you do. You don't need to find out, like, my favorite song is this because of this one specific moment. But if you show them appreciation, it's so fun. It's so good to do. And I mean, there's 5,000 bands that we could talk about, of course.
Yeah, all right. I mean, we do a part 2. I feel like there's so much more to talk about.
Yeah, I haven't even started talking about.
Because it's music is one of those things that we maybe deep dive. Maybe it's bracket. That'll get punchy.
Brackets?
Try to
bracket music brackets. It's a subjective art form.
But the big thing, exactly. Like what you like. Enjoy what you like. Try everything. Don't be afraid of thinking this is too poppy for me. This is too rock. This is too country. Everything's got a good song in it if you look hard enough. One thing I'd recommend, one thing we do fun here with us and me and Mike and our lovely wives, whenever we hang out, we put background music on, we pick up a shared playlist that we have, and we just go around the horn. Each person adds the next song. Whether it's a song that we love, whether it's a song that brings us back to a certain memory, whether it's a song just to mess with the next person. Because they don't love this song, they're going to hear this and they're going to roll their eyes.
Time for Montel Jordan, baby.
Exactly. One hot mama. But enjoy it. Try everything.
It's good soup.
Appreciate you all
very much.
Thank you for your time
and patroning with us.
For your love.
Honestly, it's good soup.
Banditober.
Goodness.
To be continued.
To be continued, folks.